Welcome to Red Kingdom Sports, and we are here to discuss Monday Night Football between the Seahawks and the Washington football team. And just straight off the bat, I nearly fell asleep watching this game. I'm not even gonna lie; it really was not interesting. It doesn't help that I didn't start watching this game until like after 10 o'clock at night. But yeah, this game really was not that good. I was watching it recorded. I nearly fell asleep. It was not a pretty game. It was not really that interesting to watch. And there was just a lot of things to it that obviously didn't make it fun. When you start off with how poorly the Seahawks played, the Seahawks looked terrible. They got completely dominated on defense by Washington. The time of possession wasn't even close. It was nearly like 40 minutes to 20. It was really, really bad. Like this review might even be really short because there wasn't much that happened. It was pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. It was a pretty bad football game for the Seahawks. Russ has not looked good since he came back. The Seahawks, like DK couldn't get open. Tyler Lockett did have a few good plays. But like this game, it ended Washington 17, Seahawks 15. And it didn't even feel that close, if you ask me. It felt like Washington just dominated this entire game. Now, credit to Washington because we've been giving them crap and all year long for how poorly their defense has been playing now that Chase Young is down. That really, really sucks that he's out. But if you look at the way the Washington defense has been playing recently, I think they're finally hitting their stride. This game definitely helps, standalone primetime game. Help them, get their stride, come back, and be what we know they can be. But Washington, I thought Washington played fairly well. Their defense was stout. Kendall Fuller, Chiefs legend, came up with the interception at the end of the game to ice it on the 2-point conversion by the Seahawks. After Russ, kind of did zip that ball in there for the touchdown at the end of the game. But like this game, it just really didn't feel close. Taylor Heineke played fairly well. Antonio Gibson is amazing. I love that JK, or what is it? JK McKissick? Something McKissick. Those two are really fun, 1-2 punch to watch. They're nothing impressive. They're really, really good at running the football, and I love watching that. In a pass heavy league and offensive league, when you have guys that can run the football really well, that's why Derrick Henry, I feel like, is so special in the NFL, just because he can run the football. And you have guys like Antonio Gibson who can run the football. It's really, really fun to watch. It's a change of pace. But Heineke, I thought, played fairly solid. The Washington, they were just sustaining drives. They just dominated time of possession. Like, the Seahawks defense could not get him off the field whatsoever. And it doesn't help. The Seahawks offense looked terrible. I don't think that Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll are going to be together next year. Either Pete's going to get fired or Russ is going to leave, or both. I don't see. And then if Russ does leave, I can see him going to some place like the Broncos or the Steelers, because the Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater is not the answer there. Obviously, Big Ben, there's no way that Ben Roethlisberger's in Pittsburgh next year. So Russ will, if he goes to Pittsburgh, I think that's a great fit. Him, Mike Tomlin, because, we thought the way that Aaron Rodgers was, how the season was going to pan out, that he was going to end up going to Pittsburgh, possibly, or, Denver. But I think at this point, you could probably chalk it up. If the playoff run completely flops for Green Bay, and it's just a complete S show, then I can see Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay. But the way that the Packers season has gone, I don't see Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay. I think he'll stay. I think they'll figure it out. The differences that him and the GM had, it seems like they figured it out. Everybody on that Packers team is hitting their stride. So that's why Russ to the Steelers just seems like a really, really good fit. I think it's a great fit, actually. You have all those great receivers and Najee Harris. I think Russ can do a lot more. Yeah, Russ knows when to check it down, but the entire Steelers offense is either a check down to Najee Harris or just throwing it up to Chase Claypool, it feels like. Like, that feels like the entire Steelers offense. And I think Russ is good enough. You see how him and Tyler Lockett and DK have been playing. So him going to the Steelers makes sense. And it's nothing against Pete Carroll. I think Pete Carroll is a great, energetic head coach. Like, he may be 70, 75 years old, however old he is. He's old. But the energy that guy brings, I think he's a really great guy. The way I see Pete Carroll press conferences, everything, I like Pete Carroll. I really do. I'm not the oldest person that watches sports here. I'm just now 20. But seeing Pete Carroll, the Legion of Boom days, that Super Bowl run they had They beat the Broncos. Just I remember that game vividly, and they just beat down the Broncos. Like that made me a fan of Pete Carroll. Everything the Seahawks did made me a fan of Russell Wilson. But I think it's time for this to go. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I like Russell Wilson. I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, definitely a top 10. And I think it's time for the Pete Carroll Seahawks, Russell Wilson Seahawks. It's got to go. The Seahawks just need to rebuild, change everything they're doing. Jamal Adams was a really dumb choice, and how much they gave up for him. The Seahawks defense is not good. They have Bobby Wagner, which is he's one of the best, if not the best defensive linebacker in football, but the Seahawks, they're not a good football team. They rushed Russ back way too early from that injury. They look bad. But yeah, Washington, they played well. Like the only real highlight play, if you ask me, was the blocked extra point return for 2 for the Seahawks. That kind of kept them in the game anyways. That kept them in the game because I tied it at 9-9. But other than that, this game just showed how the Seahawks are going to have to move off from something. And Washington is now in the playoff picture in a crazy NFC that, you have the Rams free falling. You have the Cowboys that are not playing very, very well. You have the Cardinals, Packers, who are probably the 2 best in that division, or that conference, I should say. You have the Buccaneers, which the way the Buccaneers are playing, they're winning, but the way that they're playing, they're not going to win anything in the playoffs because there's no way they can sustain that. But yet again, it's Tom Brady, and somehow he pulls a rabbit out of a hat every single time and ends up winning. But yeah, I'm kind of just rambling at this point. This game on Monday Night Football was kind of a doozy. Wasn't very good. Kind of sucked to watch. It feels like it's the end of the Seahawks and what we used to know of them. Pete Carroll's going to be gone. I don't see Russ coming back. And if he does, Pete Carroll's probably not going to be there. But yeah, that's my review of Monday Night Football. Give me your thoughts down below of what you thought of it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I'll see you in the next one.